Okay, so welcome to the class on the book of Revelation, chapter by chapter, verse by verse study. And we are right now going to be studying Revelation chapter 6. So if you all open up your Bibles to Revelation chapter 6, and let's read through that. I watched as the Lamb opened the first of the 7 seals. Then I heard one of the 4 living creatures say in a voice like thunder, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out to conquer as a conqueror bent on conquest. So let's stop there. Now, if you can just keep your hand turned to Matthew chapter 24. And I know we reviewed this, but we want to go a little bit more in detail. We reviewed this 2 or 3 weeks ago. But there's striking similarities in Matthew chapter 24 and Revelation chapter 6. And for those who think that Matthew chapter 24 is speaking of today, I would respectfully disagree with you. And I would say that Matthew chapter 24 really speaks is really the one and the same as Revelation chapter 6. So let's read Matthew chapter 24, and let's start in verse 4. So in verse 4, Matthew chapter 24, Jesus answered, "Watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Christ, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginnings of the birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other, and many false prophets will appear and deceive many. Because of the increase in wickedness, the love of most will grow cold, but he who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come." So, in Revelation chapter 6, we're in the first 3.5 years of the tribulation period, and the time of the great wrath has not come yet. That's the last 3.5 years. This is just the beginning. This is the birth pains that we're going to be seeing. Okay, so let's go back to Revelation chapter 6, and let's look at this verse. Let's look at chapter 2. So it says, "There I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest." Now, who is this in the white horse? This is the Antichrist. Many people, I think, wrongly think that this is Jesus Christ, but Jesus Christ does not come until the end of the tribulation period, at the end of the 7 years. The only similarity here is that he's on a white horse. As when Christ comes, he's on a white horse as well. Its rider held a bow. Notice the bow, it's just a bow. There's no arrows. This leads us to believe that the Antichrist will conquer through peace. Not that there will be peace during the tribulation period during his reign, but with us going back to Daniel chapter 9, this peace agreement with many people think that, myself included, that he will come to power and not have to do it taking things over. It's basically just granted to him. Now, he was given a crown. Again, we talked about crowns before. There's 2 types of crowns mentioned in the Bible. The one is called a diadem or diadem. And this is the crown of a king. Okay, this is the royal crown. This is not the word used here. The word here is used as Stephanos, which is the crown of a victor. So he is given the crown of a victor. Now Christ, when he's referred to, is given the crown, the diadem, okay, the crown of the king. So this is another reason why I don't believe personally, it just doesn't make a lot of sense, but another reason why this is not Christ we're talking about. This is the Antichrist. Okay, so he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest. I think the conqueror bent on conquest, he's looking to conquer, he's looking to solidify the kingdom. Later on, we're going to see, as we looked at 2 weeks ago in Daniel chapter 11, there's going to be a lot of war during this time, during the tribulation period. He's going to be fighting a lot. Remember, it's the kingdom of the feet with the iron mixed in with clay. It's not a united people that are under this kingdom. So it's not going to be this united kingdom that's going to be singing Kumbaya. It's going to kind of be a force type of thing, that it kind of begrudgingly go along with it. There's not going to be a lot of people happy that the kingdoms are going to be warring through this time. Which leads us into verse 3. When the Lamb opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, "Come." Then another horse came out, a fiery red one. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth and to make men slay each other. To him was given a large sword. If we flip back to Matthew, which I should hold my place. I tell you to hold your place, but I didn't hold my place. Matthew chapter 24, and we look at verse 6 and 7. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. So I think right here in Matthew chapter 24, verse 6 and 7 is the second seal. So if you want to write in your Bibles, if you take notes in your Bibles like I do, put on in verse 6 and 7, second seal, Revelation chapter 6, verse 3. So we're going to have a lot of war going on. Now, just on a personal note, my father-in-law who passed on a little over a week ago, it was very sudden. And the amount of grieving that has taken place and the amount of hurt inside has been tremendous. When we come to this point in history, in Revelation chapter 6, what's going to be happening is people are going to die suddenly. My father-in-law who died in a car accident, we say it's just not natural, it's not normal. And so it makes it that much worse. There was no time to say goodbye. We're going to be going through here on earth, and just think about this, the grief that will be taking place by those left behind. Because we're going to find out in a minute that there are many people who are going to be dying, not of natural, like old age, maybe get cancer, maybe just grow old, die of a heart attack. But it's going to be the deaths during this time, the majority of them will be tragic. The norm will not be to die of an old age. So the horse, the red one, some people say this is the false prophet. I don't think so, because he's known as the red dragon or the scarlet beast. I think this is just, red is just bloodshed. And warfare amongst the nations will be there till the end of the tribulation period. It's not something that's going to just be in the first 3.5 years, I believe. They're going to be warring against the Antichrist. There's going to be much talk of peace. I mean, we hear of peace all the time. I mean, more so than any time in history, we've heard of peace, even in our time. But there's been more people killed in the 20th century than all previous centuries combined. If we look at Stalin, 20 million Russians he killed of his own people. If we look at the Communist Revolution in China, 45 million people either died through their own hands or through starvation or being starved to death. And then all the wars that have been. And it's going to pale in comparison to what's going to happen in the coming years, unfortunately. Now, what's the result of war? Let's look at verse 5. When the Lamb opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand. Then I heard what sounded like a voice among four living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a day's wages, and 3 quarts of barley for a day's wages, and do not damage the oil and the wine." Okay, so what's that all about? Really what we're talking about here is hyperinflation. So a quart of wheat is enough to feed an individual for a day. So you'll basically be working, and by the end of the day, just have enough to feed yourself to stay alive. 3 quarts of barley. Barley was what was used to feed the animals. It's not as nutritious, doesn't have as much nutrients as wheat, and it would take much more to get the necessary sustenance from that. It's a poorer man's food. So that's what they're saying here. And do not damage the oil and the wine. So the things that are worth, oil and wine, they're going to be in short supply. So we're going to see goods in short supply, and necessities in short supply, and the luxuries in short supply. And when you think about it, I mean, what are the effects of war? We can see the devastation. I mean, in Hurricane Sandy, we can see that in certain sections things are destroyed. But war, when you're talking about at a worldwide level, when homes are destroyed, factories are destroyed, supermarkets are destroyed, we saw the effects of Hurricane Sandy on the gas lines in the stores. And again, we're giving a taste of what's going to happen in the future, because not only of war, but also of the other things that are going to be happening, the natural disasters, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So let's move along onto the fourth seal, verse 7. When the Lamb opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature say, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a pale horse. Now, the word pale here is an interesting word. It's the Greek word chloros, where we get chlorophyll from, and that's why it's pale, or it's a green horse. Okay, the word literally means like green in color, as if you were about to throw up or vomit. You're sick, and you never see someone who's just about to vomit or sick, and they just get that pale green color. You say, "Oh, you're green. You're pukish looking." And that's really the word here. The writer, a better translation is not just pale, but green as into throw up. He looks very ashen. Now, I've heard some commentary that says that green is the kind of the color of Islam. Some people try to make that relationship. I don't think so personally, but I'll just throw that out there for your own information. It doesn't make a lot of sense, fitting into things, but I'll put that out there because you'll see that in some writings. So I looked, and there before was the pale horse. Its rider was named Death, and Hades was following close behind them. They were given power, now listen to this, over a fourth of the earth to kill by sword, famine, and plague, and by the wild beasts of the earth. There are approximately 8 billion people here on earth right now. And within a 3.5-year period, 2 billion people, unless there's more people when this happens, 2 billion people will be killed within a very short period of time. Not of natural causes, but due to the effects of war, plagues, and interesting here, wild beasts. And that always kind of made me a little bit curious as to what that is. And there are one which is my own kind of thought, and another one is one that's out there by some theologians. They say that more people have been killed due to rats because of the disease that they carry than pretty much anything in the world, heart attack or whatever, because of the plague that they carry. So some people think that due to all the death and everything else, I mean, the rodent population, that sort of thing, is going to be running rampant, and that's going to spread a lot of the disease. Because, we see that even like with the sewage, we have our sewage plant just spewing out, and they're not going to fix it for like a year. So just think of, this type of destruction. This destruction of Hurricane Sandy was on a very local level. You look on a map, and it's that much. We're talking Hurricane Sandy, but a lot worse on a global scale. So just think of all of the problems of infrastructure and waste management and different things. There's going to be a lot of disease spread by this. The other thing, too, which I don't know if you've ever watched on television. I think it's on A&E or History Channel, Discovery. There's on a lot. But have you followed the hog population, the wild pig issue that we're having here in the United States? It's pretty much out of control. In 44 states, they have wild boar that are pretty much overrunning farms, you name it. I was reading an article in Islamabad, Pakistan, who has, it's a very populated city, and they get overrun every winter by wild boar because they come down from the mountains, and there's so much garbage and everything. As Muslims, you're not allowed to eat pork, so they have no really reason to kill them. They're allowed to kill them by gun, but if you carry a gun in Islamabad, you're maybe mistaken for a terrorist, and you're killed on the spot. So nobody really carries a gun to hunt these things, and they do it by bow and arrow, which is a pretty ineffective thing. So we're losing the battle with. So anyway, so I think there's going to be some rat. There'll probably be some rat plague carrying type of thing, but also the wild animals. And plus with this Agenda 21 of the UN, sustainability, I don't know if you just look up Agenda 21 of the UN, it's basically the worldwide government they're trying to put in and influence through that way, and the environmental movement. You can't kill anything. You can't kill a bear, you can't kill this thing. So we're really, the population of wild animals is becoming a problem. So I think all this stuff is going to play into effect, and I think people are literally going to be attacked by wild boar and different things like that. So we're going to stop there, and we'll go on to the next session shortly.